Okay, so we're going to take a look at the striped bowl assignment. I've opened it up already on here. Don't be afraid to zoom in because if you, especially on a Chromebook, it's kind of small and when the text is bigger, it's much easier to read and understand. Okay, I've already read all of these instructions and I know a lot of this model by memory, but that being said, there are some new parts to it. This was originally written for the SketchUp version that should be installed on a computer for a Windows or a Mac, but it does work on the online version too. So the end product, and I'll flip back and forth between the instructions to give us a little bit, make it easier to understand it. So we're going to make it this striped bowl. This starts by creating a square. I'm going to do a 5-inch square, and basically what we do is you click on a corner and you copy it using the move tool, and you have to hold down the control key on a Chromebook or a command key and you'll see a plus. And we're going to get 4 of these, so it's going to look like this. Then we're going to use a 2-point arc to click on one corner, then the other corner, then drag out 1/2 inch. So I've already got my SketchUp open. I'm going to select my rectangle tool. If I use a shortcut key, I'll tell you what they are. So I'm just dragging and I'm going to type 5 quotation, comma, 5 quotation, return. And something doesn't matter, so I'm going to press Command Z and try that again. 5 quotation, comma, 5 quotation, return. There we go. At this point I can take the person out. I do need to look down from above, so I'm going to orbit. And while holding down the orbit button, if I hold the shift button, it allows me to work with it a little bit more centered. And I'm just orbiting it to get it in a view that I like. So I'm going to select this. You can also select it by clicking on it 3 times. Make sure the inside face and the outside lines are highlighted. Now I'm going to use the move tool, which is right here. And if I remember, I got to make a copy, so I got to press the control button on a Chromebook, but since I'm on the Mac, I'm going to press the command key. So I'm going to click and drag diagonally, make sure it says endpoint. I clicked on the corner, I dragged to the other corner. And actually it was the option key to get the copy. In the lower right corner you can see kind of like there's a little dot. It's really hard to see, but when I press the option key, you can see that little dot appearing and disappearing. So I just tap the option key and it wants to make a copy. So I'm going to do that now and click and drag to the opposite corner and click. All right, so now what I got to do is select the 2-point arc. It's this one. So now in the instructions, this is where I'm at. I'm going to click on one, drag to the other, then drag out. It should say half circle, but on mine it also might say 2.5 inches. There it is. So I'm just going to repeat this process going all the way around. Again, I am looking kind of down from the top, and if you get something that's weird like that, just press the escape key to stop the drawing. Click again to get it to go again. Okay. Coming back to the instructions. Now what it wants us to do, now we have all those, it wants us to erase the inside part of it. And then we're going to use that 2-point arc again to draw here, and it's going to make a tangent, and it's going to be a magenta color. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to erase that. I'm going to use my eraser tool it's the E key or the eraser. It's also over here. You can see the lines kind of turn blue, and when I let go, they kind of disappear. So I'm just holding down the mouse button as I drag over the top if they turn blue. If you make a mistake, just press Command Z or Control Z to undo. Or you can use this button right here. I'm going to select the arc tool, 2-point arc, click here, drag, there's that magenta color. It's easiest when you first do it. If you need to and you got to make sure you click on the end point. It's really easy not to click on the end point. Tangent. I'm going to orbit to the side, actually on top of it. So I'm looking more of a downward view. Sometimes we'll do that if you don't. If you're not connected to the right place. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to zoom in. Orbit, holding the shift key. 2-point arc. There it is. Oh, there it was. And click. There. Okay, so when you get it complete, you should see that face kind of go in. Do take your time. You saw me zoom in. So yeah, take your time. So let's see what the next instructions are. So now we're going to do with the circle tool, and this time we got to look at it kind of like flat, and we should see the horizon line in the back. We're going to put a little circle around it. Then we're going to use the follow me tool to make it look like that. So let's try that. So again, you want to look at it flat, and it doesn't matter kind of like what side. We're just going to choose to do the end point. So I'm going to do the circle. Again, it's over here. I press the C key. If it's wanting to go flat, just orbit up a little bit until you kind of come down and click and make a circle. I'm going to do, I don't know, a 2-inch circle. Okay, or maybe a little bit smaller, but we'll see. This is what I'm going to do is now is click on the line that goes around the outside. Okay, actually I triple clicked on the inside. Then I'm going to hold down the, I just need to be able to select, so I'm going to triple click again. I'm going to hold down the shift key and click the center button to deselect it, the center. So now, okay, so I have it selected, shift, deselect the center. Now what I'm going to do with the follow me tool, this one here, is I'm just going to click on that inside. It's going to take a second, but the computer should pop that up. Oh, okay. So I can see it's kind of having a hard time. It's wanting to go on the inside, so I'm just going to escape. Try to reselect just the line going around the outside. Okay, so I did it another way. I selected everything, held down the shift key and deselected what I need. Follow me, click, and now paste. And that's what you should see. So you had to wait a little bit. While you're waiting, don't click or be doing anything else because it takes a little bit of memory on the computer to be able to do this. So now, here's where we're at. We were able to do that. Now what it wants us to undo so we can scale in this object, and we're going to stretch it so it's tall. Then we're going to use this rotate tool, and we're going to rotate it down. So we're going to click once where it touches in the center, then drag up, and then we're going to tilt it outwards like that. Then we'll use the follow me tool, and it should go around and to make our bowl. So let's give that a try. So I'm going to undo. I'm going to orbit to the side, scale, and I'm going to drag this up. And there's not a really set height that you can do or don't want to do. So if you want to move it up just a little bit, you know, you could do that as well. Okay. Well, I think I'm going to leave it down. All right, so now what I'm going to use is the orbit. I need to make sure this is all the way selected. Okay. And now what I want to do is find the rotate tool. So here that is. So now what I'm going to do is click on it, and I'm actually going to orbit up a little bit so I can make sure I'm right there when I'm doing that. So I want to make sure this touches that part. And I click once to place it, and then you should be able to rotate it outwards just a little bit. So now what I got to do is select the line again, and then I'm going to use follow me, click on that, and it should go around. All right, so what I did is use the click and drag, and anything that touches the dotted line when I do this will be selected. So I'm just selecting, and I want to make sure that everything, I can see that part didn't get selected in this instance, so I'm going to do this a little bit closer and make sure I drag all the way over and across. And I'm just visually looking. I don't want the face to be selected, so I'm going to hold down the shift button, deselect it. Now with the follow me, I'm just going to click on that. And I'm going to wait, and hopefully it goes around. Bam! So I'm going to zoom out so I can see what this looks like. So I got my bowl. It's not colored, but I have my bowl. So let's see what's next. So now what we're going to do is going to draw a rectangle, and it's just got to be bigger than that shape. And then what we'll do is we'll move it underneath, or we'll make it we're going to make it a group right here. So we're going to make it a group. We're going to double click, select it all, make it a group. And then what we'll do is we'll slide it underneath, go to the side view, and we'll use that move tool and come up and we'll make a copy. So we drag the copy, we drag up to the top, and then we're going to type 8 divide by just like that. And what that does, it's going to create copies between the first and the second, however many you specified, plus the original. So if you say 8 divided by, you'd wind up with 9. So let's give that a try. I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to use my rectangle tool. And again, it doesn't matter how big, as long as it's bigger than your shape here. So I'm going to double click or triple click until everything is selected. Right click on the rectangle I just created and make it a group. I'm going to move this. Okay. And I'm going to come to the side just so I can see. It's near the bottom, but not below it. Okay. So now what I got to do is I'm going to come to the side and I'm going to make a copy. So I'm going to use my move tool. I'm going to press the copy button, the control or the option, dragging up to the top, 8 divide by. You can see in the corner, my lower right corner where it says distance 8 slash, that's the divide by. And then it's going to come into here. So let's see what's next. After you get that, we're going to right click on it and say intersect model with faces, or intersect with model. And then we're going to delete them, and then you should be left with lines on the model that we can then color. So here's what it looks like. Again, I'm just going to click over here. Below it, I'm dragging up. You can see I get that dotted line, but I'm not touching the original one. I'm going to right click, intersect faces with model. And I clicked on it, and it doesn't seem like anything's happening. I'm hoping that the computer's just thinking. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it again and press the delete key. And now I have those, and I'm going to look inside, make sure there's no little faces on the inside as well. If you do wind up with faces on the inside, it's because you didn't make it a group earlier, and this would be a good time to undo. Make sure the rectangle is a group before you drag it underneath. Okay. So now it says paint the stripes. There are infinite ways you can paint this, so feel free to come up with your own. Pick a dark color like black to do a zebra. You can look inside and paint the black stripes to match those. You can paint the other stripes using different colors. Make sure that the stripes inside match the outside ones. If you want to make it a see-through or clear in the colors model, you can open up the opacity and you can change it from a solid color to like 60%. that'll make it kind of see-through. Okay. So let's go ahead and give this a try. So I'm going to do the paint bucket. Okay. I'm going to choose black, and I'm going to start on the top and just go every other one. Now it's only painting the inside because that's all I'm clicking on. And if I need to, zooming in is never a bad idea. Okay, so now I have that. So what I'm looking for that I don't see is the edit materials to make it kind of see-through. I guess that's something I'm not sure if they've worked into the online version of SketchUp. If you can't, then you'll just paint it with 2 different colors. I'm going to do a blue for the other ones. If you make a mistake, you can just click the undo button, Control Z, and maybe I'm going to choose another color for the bottom, or maybe I'll just do black. I'm going to orbit around. Do that same thing to the bottom. Okay, and there we go. There are other colors that you can choose from, or categories. So if I went to if I go into materials, if I click here, and I come into the search button, and you can come into materials and you could choose different things. Like if I wanted to make something transparent, I could probably look and find the one that says glass. Anyway, if you get this far, you can go ahead and save it again. When you press zoom out first so we can see the whole model. When you save it, always save it your period number and your name, the name of the assignment. So like 7 striped bowl. And you guys should have one that's called 7th period robotics. You guys should save it there, or if you're in 8th period or 1st period, whatever your period is, you should have one that says, I'm going to save it in here so that I can get back to it. And you should see this change the name that I just put. I'm not sure if the network is slow. If you're not sure if it's saved, you want to do it again. So I'm just clicking my Google Drive. I'm going to choose my folder again, say select. Should say saving, and I can see my name now, so that's exactly what I want to see before I go away.